What we have right here is the brand new second generation Apple Watch SE. And I'm gonna venture as far as to say that this is probably the best smartwatch to buy for most people out there. Now, that's a bold statement, and I'll explain why I'm saying that later on in this video, but the Apple Watch SE, in essence, is exactly like the previous SE devices Apple's made. It's a more affordable approach, while still giving you the best processor on the inside, the same interface, and across the board, almost everything is identical to the Apple Watch 8, and for that matter, there's a lot that's very similar to the Apple Watch Ultra, even though those two more expensive watches are getting way more attention. So this is starting at $249, but side by side, you really won't see nearly as many differences as you might expect compared to the Apple Watch 8. So in this video, I'm going to dive into what this watch can do, the physical design, the accuracy, testing, and everything like that, as well as cover some of the limitations and what Apple cut out of it to make it a lower price. Now, I want to start off with the design of this device. Now, there are two different sizes. Unlike the Apple Watch 8, which has a 41 and 45 millimeter size, this is 40 and 44, so slightly smaller, almost imperceivable. There are three different colors, it's made out of aluminum, and there are a lot of different Apple bands you can choose from. The bands are really the same we've been seeing before, so you can swap out if you have a previous Apple Watch band, you can swap that onto here very, very easily. So one of the big advantages here is that it really is a very similar design to what we've seen on the Watch 4, the 5, the 6, even the 7 and 8 for that matter, in that you're getting the same rectilinear design. On the left side, we've got our speakers. On the right side, a microphone, a digital crown that doubles as a button, and I'll show you the interface in a minute, as well as a button below that. So when you're wearing this, really what I'm getting at here is that people won't know you saved over $150 or $160 to buy this. It's gonna look exactly like every other Apple Watch, and so that's gonna be a huge advantage there. This also on the back has the heart rate sensor that we're getting from other Apple Watches. So we do have heart rate detection on here as well as heart rate notifications. We have Bluetooth, NFC, Wi-Fi. There is an option for cellular on here as well if you want to spend an extra $50. This also has 32 gigabytes of storage. And of course we have all the typical accelerometer and other sensors we saw on pretty much every other Apple Watch. In addition, this is still 50 meters water resistant, so it's great for swimming or whatever if you want to wear it when you're showering. Water is no problem. Now, I mentioned that we have a speaker and a microphone. These obviously work for the voice assistant, but also to field phone calls. So let's get into a test and see how they actually perform. So this is a sample voice recording. I'm just using the microphone on the watch, and I'm holding it at a pretty normal distance away, just talking at a comfortable volume indoors. Let me know if you can hear what I'm saying.
So this is a speaker test with the Apple Watch SE second generation. I'm just calling from a different phone, so leave a comment and let me know how the speaker sounds to you.
Now this watch might be a more affordable version of the Apple Watch Series 8, but you're still getting on the inside the same top of the line specs. We're getting exactly the same chip as the Apple Watch Series 8, which is the S8 chip, and we're getting the same battery life on here as well, up to 18 hours. Now, I did test out the GPS and the heart rate accuracy on a relatively long run, so we can dig into that right now and see how that actually performed. Now we'll start with the heart rate tracking. This did an incredible job. On a steady state run, it was a little bit iffy in the beginning, but compared to a known accurate Polar H10 heart rate strap, it caught on very quickly and was really lockstep with most of this workout. Now, in the end, I started doing longer and more intense intervals to really push and test this watch. And as you can see, it really traced out those intervals almost perfectly in line with the H10 heart rate strap. Super, super impressive. And then for GPS, it's a similar story. The Apple Watch SE is a very accurate watch. It's able to track my entire run, and not only is there very little wandering, but it's also very accurate with the pace, the instantaneous pace, and of course, it is doing a great job of the total distance. At the end of a 5-mile run, it was within 1% of my actual distance run, which I was very happy with. Now, as a side note, there are so many watches coming out, not just the Apple Watches, but the Pixel watches coming out, the Fitbit Sense 2 and other watches are coming out. And if you want to see more smartwatch videos like this one, be sure to go down and click that subscribe button. And while you're down there, leave a comment and let me know what I should compare the Apple Watch SE to. And as far as features go on this watch, we're getting the latest WatchOS 9, which gives you all the new watch faces and everything you might expect. And I'll get into an interface tour, like I said, in a second. But on top of that, some other features we're getting here include the compatibility with Apple Fitness Plus. We're getting the Compass app, the newer things that we're seeing on the Apple Watch 8, like the Compass app has backtrack. This also has backtrack, so if you go off trail, you can find your way back. And of course, all the classic things that we always liked about Apple Watches, from the seamless compatibility with Apple devices, how it connects with iMessage, you have a decibel meter to notify you when you're in loud environments, voice recordings, breathing exercises, maps, female cycle tracking. But there's a catch here, female cycle tracking here, unlike the Apple Watch Series 8, which has a temperature sensor. This is doing it kind of just manually inputting your own information. We also have, of course, the remote camera, normal watch stuff like timers in the App Store, and calling and texting and photos, and really all of that stuff that you'd get used to from any other Apple Watch. Because like I'm saying, the interface of this is really identical. You're getting essentially everything you're getting on the other Apple Watches, with a few exceptions that I'll cover in a second. But some of the other new things that Apple came out with include emergency SOS, or crash detection, as well. And this has both of those, in addition to fall detection, which we have before. So older people or anybody who might be disabled, or in any situation where you're worried about falling and you're going to struggle to get help, this is an affordable way to keep a monitor or keep a kind of a safety device on you to get help if you need it. And of course, I can't forget, we have Apple Pay as well. Just another thing that makes this a great watch. Now, as far as the interface goes, if you're buying this watch, it might be the first time you have an Apple Watch. So I want to give you a quick rundown. If you swipe down from the top, you have your notifications. If you swipe up from the bottom, you have your quick settings to turn on airplane mode or flashlight or Wi-Fi, things like that. Swiping from the left or right just goes through your different watch faces, and tapping on the crown will give you your app Honeycomb. So essentially you can go to any app and just navigate around. It does take some getting used to. You have to memorize what all the icons are, but once you get used to it, it's a pretty easy way to find all of your apps. If you press and hold the top button, you will get Siri, and if you press the bottom button, you get a layout of all the apps that you have open to easily switch between them. And if you double press the bottom button, you'll get your Apple Wallet. If you double press the top button, you'll toggle between your most recently used apps. But not everything is perfect about this watch. We are missing some things in comparison to the Series 8, right? I'm talking this up like it's everything identical, and for the most part, it kind of is, but there are some differences. The first difference when you look at it is that the display has a larger bezel around the outside. It's not like larger than the ones in the past. It's probably on par with, I would say, the Apple Watch Series 5 is what it looks most like to me, and that's not a bad thing. It's really better than a lot of other watches out there, but not quite to the level of the Series 8 or the Series 7. We're also lacking an ECG, so no electrocardiogram. I don't really use it all that often anyway, so that's not a huge drawback. The display does not have an always-on display feature, so when you're not looking at it, it is a black rectangle. Slight drawback there. And we're also missing blood oxygen and, of course, that temperature sensor, which means you won't get quite as accurate sleep tracking or sleep stages. But summarizing the pros and the cons here. The pros, this is only $250, and you're getting the most powerful chip on any watch, 32 gigabytes of storage, which is among the most on any watch, really the best operating system in any watch with seamless integration, and a low price with a full checklist of all the smartwatch features you would come to expect. The drawbacks, though, the sleep analytics are a little bit weak. You don't have the best display. Like, it is a good display, but you don't have an always-on display, and you do have a little bit more of a bezel around there, and kind of just Apple Watch things in general. Like, the screen is the outermost plane, so you might want to get a case on here if you plan on rock climbing or anything so you don't damage that. And, I mean, the only other thing I would really hold against this would be, the Apple Watch aesthetic. Some people really do like that, but if you're somebody who wants a classier design, maybe a hybrid watch would be a better choice for you. Oh, and the last thing, as I mentioned before, you don't have an ECG or blood oxygen or a temperature sensor, but if you have an iPhone and you want a jack-of-all-trades watch, this is going to be it. It's an incredible watch at an incredible price. I would recommend this watch for basically anybody out there, with a few exceptions. Don't get this watch if you obviously care a lot about aesthetics and you want either the classiest watch, like a hybrid watch, or at the very least, you need an always-on display. Don't get it if you're a super athlete and you need the best analytics from blood oxygen and like a super long battery life. Maybe the Ultra is better for you there. But if you're going on runs that are, under 20 miles, this is a pretty solid device. And if all you want is your pace and your heart rate, it does a really good job of that. Also, don't get this watch if you are extremely health oriented and you're really worried about like an ECG for that matter, or sleep tracking. again, the Apple Watch 8 would do a better job on those. But like I said, I think most people out there don't absolutely need those features. And so it becomes completely worth it to save $150 and get the Apple Watch SE. But leave a comment below and let me know what you think of this watch. Personally, I think it's a pretty compelling buy. If you enjoyed the video, consider liking and subscribing. I'm Mike O'Brien. Thanks for watching. See you next time.